believe it's still a long shot James chooses the Lakers this summer. So speaking of the Lake Show, Stephen A., where do you see Magic Johnson fitting into all this?
Well, here's how Magic Johnson fits in all of this, and I talked about this on my radio show. Doesn't get mentioned too much because we're always talking about Will Cain, but there's a lead in to Will Cain on ESPN Radio. It would happen to be the Stephen A. Smith Show from 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern Time nationwide in 250 plus markets across the United States of America. But I'm sure that's dwarfed by Will Cain. Believe what you want. Here's the deal. Magic Johnson, as I said on my radio show yesterday, I'm not going to say he's in the Lions' den as of yet, but make no mistake about it. Magic Johnson just pulled off a trade with Rob Pelinka, and as a result, they added Rodney Hood, Larry Nance Jr., they sent them Jordan Clarkson and Larry Nance Jr. to Cleveland. They created enough cap space to not go after just one, but potentially two max players. I love me some Magic Johnson. That's my brother. Love him to death. And I'm wishing him nothing but the best. But let's be very, very clear. The summer of 2018 coming up and the summer of 2019, understand whether it's because stars demand trades or because they're available through free agency. We've got LeBron James, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard potentially, Anthony Davis, Klay Thompson. Between the summer of 2018 and the summer of 2019, I want to be very, very clear with what I'm about to say. If Magic Johnson doesn't get one of those dudes in a Laker uniform, he has failed. It's that simple. This is what, and I've said this about Phil Jackson, who did nothing but steal money from the New York Knicks, and James Dolan pulled off the heist of the century as far as I'm concerned. The man got $60 million for drafting one player in Kristaps Porzingis. And other than that, he was asleep at the wheel or chilling in Montana doing something that Shaq alluded to during his Hall of Fame speech. Here's the deal. In the case of Magic Johnson, I don't anticipate that because Magic Johnson understands what comes along with his role as president of basketball operations. It's not just about drafting. It's not just about creating cap space. It's also about recruiting. You have to be able to recruit. And you in Los Angeles, representing the purple and gold, the greatest franchise arguably ever, okay, that we're talking about, which is the Los Angeles Lakers. And over the course of 2 summers, 2018, 2019, we got 5 marquee guys that may be there for the taking, because I believe that Anthony Davis is going to ask out of New Orleans. We got 5 guys. We've got LeBron, we've got Paul George, we've got Anthony Davis, we've got Kawhi Leonard potentially, because we're hearing that L.A. may be of interest if San Antonio doesn't work out. And then obviously you've got Klay Thompson, whose daddy doesn't get mentioned nearly enough, doing great work for ESPN Radio in L.A. By the way, was on a couple of championship squads with the Lakers, okay? His son Klay, one of the top 5 shooters in the history of the game. As far as I'm concerned, 5 of those dudes, you got to get one of them. If you're Magic Johnson. To me, that's what's on my mind. That's why I say Magic Johnson has everything to do with this subject, because the Lakers got to get somebody.
No, they don't. They don't need to get any of those guys. Now, if I had to order them, I would actually not even put LeBron at the head of the list. Given age, and I know they have some injury history, but Anthony Davis and Kawhi Leonard would be my top 2 targets. Those guys are different, and Anthony Davis is still 24 and Kawhi is still 26. So I would have LeBron 3rd on that hit list, given age, miles, all those things. But the Magic doesn't have to get any of those guys. Stephen A., James Harden was not considered a superstar when he was on Oklahoma City. He was considered a promising young and already good player. But he was not perceived as an eventual MVP candidate by most. Daryl Morey identified him, and the Rockets identified him as an undervalued commodity, as someone who could be much better than people realized. And now the Rockets may be on the verge of dethroning the Warriors. Let's see what happens in the postseason. Right now, the Rockets have the best record in the NBA, and when healthy, are virtually unbeatable. They've basically not lost 1 game. And so that could happen too. Magic could identify, I don't know, like Thon Maker's been disappointing this year. But what if it turns out he's really going to be a terrific player, another unicorn-type center, and Magic acquires him or someone like him while he's undervalued, and you put him with Brandon Ingram, who turns into the next Paul George, and Lonzo Ball, who turns into some version of Jason Kidd or something like that, or at least Mark Jackson, let's say, and not Larry Nance Jr., Kyle Kuzma, who turns out to be a perennial all-star. He looks well on his way. I mean, something like that can happen too. Is that as surefire a bet as just getting a superstar? No, but it's not the only way to get it done. You can identify an undervalued talent and trade for him while his value is low and slide him into an excellent young core too. It's another way to do it.
You spend a lot of time in Los Angeles, more than any of us. Let me say this. I want to look at the city of Los Angeles, and I am asking police officers, I am asking elected officials, I am asking everybody that you can find, ban Max Kellerman from the city of Los Angeles. Do not allow him in the facilities. Find a way to keep him out.
I'm the one who makes those decisions in LA.
I'm getting to a point. Listen up before you speak. Here's the deal. I hope HBO
I am the consciousness of LA sports.
Excuse me. Can you listen to the point? You don't even know what I'm going to say and why. Listen, I think HBO should ban you from Los Angeles. I think everybody should contribute to banning Max Kellerman from Los Angeles. Here's why. Max Kellerman has lived there for years. He knows the city of L.A. Max loves L.A., lavishes in all that L.A. represents, but suddenly gets on national television and acts like he doesn't know what they represent. You know good and damn well that L.A., more so than any franchise in the NBA, requires a star. It's one thing to win. I understand that. Of course, that's the priority. But I'm talking about a box office attraction. That's why you really draft Lonzo Ball with number 2 instead of the Jason Tatums of the world, because you needed box office. And if you don't have it, there's something that's missing. Only from LA. I'm not talking about any other franchise. I'm talking about from LA. And you, of all people, taking this position after doing afternoon drive there for years and having a crib out there and enjoying the sunshine, looking like you got a tan every 5 seconds, and you're going to sit up there and act like suddenly you don't know what the city of Los Angeles requires? Shame, Max. Shame. Betrayal on your part.
Dr. Jerry Buss, the late great owner of the Los Angeles Lakers, the greatest owner in the history of American team sports by far. Dr. Jerry Buss was able to do what you just talked about. He could get box office attractions without taking his eye off the ball. He could still win championships while he did that. He's about the only one in history who's ever been able to do it. In the absence of him and Jerry, absolutely give Magic a chance. But what I would say is this: the priority is winning championships. After that, you try to do it in an aesthetically pleasing way. Look, Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal were not as fun to watch as Showtime, right? As Magic and Worthy and those guys. But they won 3 in a row. You think Lakers fans are complaining? You think Kobe and Pau Gasol were as fun to watch even as Kobe and Shaq? But they won 2 championships, went to 3 straight finals.
They were great to watch. And they were stars.
The point is James Harden a star?
Yes.
Okay, you have 2 options. You can either go after James Harden when everyone already knows he's a star and he's expensive and he's not available, or you can find the next James Harden before everyone knows he's a star when he's inexpensive and available.
By the way, Max, Kevin Durant has an opt-out in his contract after the season. I absolutely believe he's going to stay in Golden State and sign long-term. But he does have the option to opt out of his contract after this season. Let's not forget him.
Let's not
forget
him. Always a good idea to sign Kevin Durant. I would never argue against that.
No debate on that one. Magic has traded away 5 players since he took over. They should have up to $70 million in salary cap space this summer, enough to sign 2 guys. Tune into the show on Monday, because we'll be reacting to Selection Sunday with Jay Will and Jay Bill as to they think Arizona will overcome the controversy. And coming up next, the Raptors crushed the Rockets in Houston last time they played, but Houston was without CP3. Will he make the difference? Tonight's the night. Stay tuned.
Think about this for a second.
I'm going to give the ultimate.